Hi, I'm Colin Rudkin, Web Manager at the Geological Society of America. I handle most of the front-end web development and content management for the Society, and I work with volunteer division web managers to help maintain division sites. Every GSA division has an affiliated member community and website. Each division has a separate and distinct site, but since all fall under the community.geosociety.org domain, we call them microsites. In this video, we will make a quick overview of a typical division microsite, then gain familiarity with the tools available to edit, maintain, and update the site. We build our division sites with a content management system, or CMS, from a vendor called HigherLogic. The HigherLogic platform integrates with GSA's other online systems, making it easier to keep your site current. This integration includes single sign-on, community member information, and dynamic content. The CMS provides a framework for easy updates with minimal coding, but still allows a high degree of customization. For layout and design, HigherLogic sites rely on Bootstrap 3, a front-end framework that simplifies powerful functionality for responsive design. Responsive design means that your site renders well on a full-screen desktop or on a small-screen mobile device. Bootstrap is already built in, and you don't even need to know it's there for it to do its job. There are many ways to use the CMS, so you don't need to know any HTML or CSS, but if you do, you can put them to work. As you manage your site, there are two main concerns: content and user experience. You are responsible for what the user sees and interacts with. This means all of the content, layout, and navigation on your site. HigherLogic gives you tools to manage all of this, but you have more control over certain parts of a given page than others. The page header is preset and unchanging throughout the site. This is rarely updated. The navigation menu is the primary way users will find pages and resources. You can add to and rearrange this, but it mostly remains untouched. Page content is the main body, including headings, text, images, and other media. This is where you will contribute most updates and edits. The page footer is also preset and essentially unchanging. When looking at the main bodies of pages, two types of content include basic HTML content and widgets. Basic HTML content is completely generated and controlled by site managers. And don't worry, even though it's called HTML content, you don't need to write any code. The CMS will generate it for you in the editor. Before you begin editing, you'll need to be signed in to your division site with your GSA account. You'll see your profile information in the upper right corner when signed in, or a sign-in link when signed out. You'll also need admin privileges, which are granted to some officers and division web managers. If you don't have admin privileges but need them, please reach out to me or GSA Community Manager Justin Samuel. To get to the content management area, find the admin toolbar and click Edit Navigation. On the left is your site navigation, showing all of your pages in a branching tree structure. Each page can contain additional pages nested beneath it, known as children. Use the plus and minus signs to expand and collapse the view of page children. We'll return to navigation and pages soon. Click on a page to open its properties on the right side of the window. Click the Edit button to access and edit its content in the Page Designer. The Page Designer has a canvas on the left showing your page and tools on the right, including Build and Properties tabs. The three building blocks of a page are rows, content, and widgets, found under the Build tab. Content and widgets must be placed in a row. Drag and drop one of the row layout options onto the canvas to create a new row. Then drag and drop a type of content or a widget into a row column. You can place multiple items into a column and arrange them in the desired order. Click on a content item to open its settings in the Property tab. The name or title field both names the content item and can create a visible H2 title tag for the content block with the Show Title Above Content checkbox. I recommend using the editor to create all titles instead of this checkbox. Naming content is optional, but it may be helpful depending on your workflow. CSS wrapper class name allows you to apply custom CSS to an entire content item. You'll likely never use this feature. Hide allows you to hide a content item that's out of date, partially built, saved for later, etc. To edit or configure content, click on the content, then on the edit icon in the upper left of the window. There are also icons to copy and delete content. HTML is the most common content type. The words, images, links, and tables you see on most pages are HTML content. When you edit HTML content, the graphical HTML editor opens. This editor allows you to directly create content and work with layout much like you would in a Word or Google Docs document. But if you know HTML, I recommend editing the code directly, especially for more involved edits. View Show Blocks can help you understand strange editor behavior. I recommend creating text and content first and applying block types later. To remove a block type, place your cursor in the block and reselect the applied block type from the Styles, Formats, Blocks menu. Styles, Formats, Headings provide CSS-defined headings for the site. The HTML button reveals the pure HTML behind the page. Copy and paste the code into your favorite text or code editor, like Notepad++, VS Code, JS Fiddle, to make it easier to read. HTML is pretty simple to understand. Look at the code and you can pretty quickly replicate formatting, CSS classes, structure, etc. for consistency. You can also use developer tools on your live pages. Hit F12 or right-click, then Inspect in your browser. Add images or documents with the relevant icons in the toolbar. Select existing media or upload a new item into the file manager. Customize a link and its appearance after inserting it with the file manager. Keep in mind that linked documents are public, while library items require membership and sign-in. Finally, save in the editor to preserve content changes. Click Save in the Tools panel to save this version of the page, and click Publish to save and make your changes live. Clicking Publish will also save and publish simultaneously. The other content type I mentioned was the widget. Widgets provide additional functionality and are usually dynamic and community-related. To create, select a type from the Category dropdown or browse all. Carousel is under Other, and Latest Discussion List under Feeds are two common widgets seen in the default site setup. Drag a widget to a row and column and click Edit to configure. Not all widgets can be configured. Carousel widgets display images on a rotating basis. You can edit a carousel directly on the page from the front end. Only admins can see the Edit button. Here are a few carousel tips. Choose a size and crop all of your images identically. Use an image editor like Photoshop, GIMP, or Canva. 1280 by 320 pixels is a good starting size that is friendly to many screen sizes. Overlay text or graphics to display more information. Create a link for any slide to promote content. In addition to content, you can also manage your page's layouts and your site's navigation. Layout is the presentation of content. Drag and drop content within columns and between rows to arrange. Drag and drop rows in the same way. Navigation includes both the visible menus of your site and the individual pages. Let's navigate back to the content management area of our site via the admin toolbar and edit navigation. For review, on the left is your site navigation, showing all of your pages in a branching tree structure. Each page can contain additional pages nested beneath it, known as children. Use the plus and minus signs to expand and collapse the view of the page children. The pages nested under Main button bar will configure your navigation menus, primary, secondary or drop-downs, and tertiary or nested drop-down sections. Drag and drop pages to rearrange their order and menus and their nesting structure. Use the ellipsis menu to access additional options. Add a new page directly after the current page at the same navigation level. Edit the current page. Copy the current page, with the duplicate appearing immediately after. Send to draft removes the page from publication and saves it in draft status. Archive saves the page contents, but removes it from publication and visibility in the nav tree. Use the filter option to locate archived pages. Delete deletes the page. You can also add pages by dragging a new one from the top Add Page button, and you can search for page names or filter by certain statuses. Click on a page to open its page properties on the right. Visible in navigation toggles whether the page appears in menus. There are cases where you may want a page to be accessible but not to appear in the navigation. Use page title to name your page in navigation menus and browser tabs. Choose whether to display the page title on the page as an H1 tag. Page code name must be unique and is for backend configuration. An URL name determines what appears in the URL, which is important for both logical access and appearance. More advanced settings, like SEO, can be covered as needed, but your site is already configured and shouldn't need much work in these areas. With that, we have covered the essentials in editing and maintaining your division site. The CMS can be a little unintuitive at first, but like most tools, you'll pick it up pretty fast. Always feel free to reach out to me by email, phone, or in the Web Managers community if you have questions. As you start working on your site, dive in and experiment. Back up important content if you're making big changes, but otherwise, there isn't much you can break. Thanks for your time, and happy editing.